Okay, so here we are where we can do some stuff. This video is all about demonstrating one of these adapters that will allow you to refill 1 pounder. These are expensive, from 20 pounder. Okay, so first of all, because you end up keeping these 1 pounders for years this way. I recommend getting these little brass protect covers on there. I don't know what you call them, and I'll look it up. And because this is your failure point on these 1 pounders, is right in here. It'll rust up pretty fast. That bare metal, bare steel will it's really prone to corrosion, and then you got to buy a new one. So kind of show how to use one of these, how not to use one of these. Let's see here. So this one, it actually is full. This is not an empty. I just wanted to give a little demo of what's inside. This probably never really looked at. You don't see propane very often, other than when it's a flame. So you're not supposed to put this on first, or else it'll start leaking. But this shows how you just have your propane gas at the top, but there's liquid underneath. It is cold. Okay, you can see it's pretty cold. What do we got here? -48. And you can, let's see. So it's proving that it is propane. You got fire and ice at the same time. So that's pretty darn cool. Don't do this at home. Okay, so that's that. Now, oops. Okay, now you have your propane tank. Typically, if everything's in working order, you can open one of these without anything connected. Sometimes it'll start leaking, but it's normally a bad thing to do that. Okay, so this adapter, you have this other side that goes on here, and tighten that down. So, and this is just there's no valves or in this here, like sometimes you have a little bearing in there that makes these one way, but this is just wide open, so you don't want to open that up. Again, you have the gas up here, and this is full. You want to use a full tank when you're doing this. That just makes the process go better. If you want to fill up your 1 pounder, best results is to start with a full 20 pounder that's not super cold. You want the 20 pounder to be as warm as possible. You want the 1 pounder to be as cold as possible, pressure and all. So, but you can see the liquid coming out. Don't do that. So, but you can see, you're going to connect the 1 pounder here. If you keep the 20 pounder up, all you have is gas coming out, and you're not going to refill your 1 pounder very well. you want to flip, it'll put gas, it'll refill it some, and you just it'll go empty quicker, and you just refill again. But the best way is to connect this and then flip your 20 pounder and then open up the open it up. So okay, so let me go. This one's full, like I said. So I have a 1 pounder in the freezer, which is ideal, and to make the 1 pounder as cold as possible. So I'm going to go grab that. I'll be back. I'll get this hooked up, because when I come back, I want to quickly get the gas going to refill it before the 1 pounder warms up. Let's take a minute and review what propane is to the whiteboard. Okay, so you start off with natural gas from either direct mining, or it's a byproduct of oil drilling, and in it are many gases. Basically everything that's in the atmosphere: carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, in low amounts. So it's mostly these flammable gases, because you can pump it, basically straight into, a house, and, run a stove off of it. But it doesn't transport very well, where propane in it can be distilled out and is easily liquefied into pressurized tanks that really aren't that dangerous. So you have your propane that boils at -43 Fahrenheit at normal atmospheric pressure, in a pressurized tank. The boiling point goes up, past room temperature. So it's not boiling in the tank. As the pressure goes down, some of it will boil off and then give you the gas that runs through, so you can use it. But the liquid, is very compact, and just sit there and wait for you to use it. So a propane molecule is simply 3 carbons and 8 hydrogens. This is the diagram. 3 carbons, there's 2 hydrogens off of that, 1, and then both of these carbons have 3 hydrogens connected to them. This itself is not flammable. You can put a spark off inside of a propane tank, and it's not going to burn, because there's no oxygen in it. This is very clean molecule. No oxygen, no sulfur, no nitrogen, just these 2 types of atoms. So if you're you have some oxygen floating around, it's still, these bonds aren't going to break. Just you need a spark or a flame to start breaking these bonds, and then these will start breaking up and going to the oxygen. So if you you heat up, the oxygen molecule will split and become separated, and say these will join together, and these join together, and then you have 2 water molecules, and this oxygen atom right here might grab a loose carbon, and now you have carbon dioxide, which is a pretty stable gas. It'll go into plants, and plants will break that back up into oxygen, and take the carbon and make carbon-based molecules. And the main bad thing that will happen is, if you have an oxygen molecule that splits up, and then but only one of the oxygens connects to a carbon. That's carbon monoxide, which is, very dangerous. So, as if you have some CO floating around, and you have your good oxygen, the carbon monoxide, will steal away this, and one oxygen will go to one molecule, the other one will go here to make carbon dioxide, which is pretty stable, but now you just lost, useful oxygen in the air, so that makes it bad for us. So yeah, once you get these splitting up, and you have a flame, you have your heat, which keeps this chemical reaction going. And that's just briefly, if you have an atom, you have you have your electrons going around, and as these are swapping around their electrons to reconfigure, you'll have, and with the heat too, you'll have the electron will go from one layer down to a lower layer and back up. And when it's doing that, that transition between these energy levels, it'll emit a photon, which is electromagnetic wave, which is light, and which you might see, but a lot of these electromagnetic waves are lower in frequency. They're infrared, so you feel the warmth of that energy coming off, and a lot of the energy, from the heat is infrared. So that's how the energy goes from being stored in the propane to coming out and then heating up whatever you want to get heated up. That's about it. I don't have any more whiteboard, so let's move on to something else. Thanks. Oh, geez. What the heck? 2 peaches. Hold on for a second, guys. Excuse me. Donnie, I thought we talked about this. No, you can't keep your peach awards from Pelosi. These RV refrigerators are too small for your keepsakes. Now, I know 2 of them. No one thought it was possible. You can stay here. I know Melania is really upset with you. I can understand that. But you're still moving back to the White House on the 21st like you promised, right? Okay. That's 32. The tank will go down to the freezer temperature. 46. Okay. Okay, so we got this tightened down. This is off. Got the cold. It's not so cold now because I'm trying to film this, but attach this. Very good. To there. Okay. Brought along a screwdriver. I'll show you that. It's always good to have that. Oops. Okay, let me flip this over. Okay, here we are. Oops. And well, this is easier to do with 2 hands, but okay, and this can take about a minute. Turn it back off. Close the valve. Okay, so here we are. So this has been refilled. This is off. Now you don't want to take it off from here. I'll do it just to show what not to do, because it'll start leaking, and from the tank. So anyway, that's what not to do. So you just need to, you want to disconnect it from here, which takes 2 hands. What you want to do is as quick as you can, because it will. There's no way to keep it from not leaking. And there we go. Then immediately you want to listen and make sure that you're not leaking any propane from this valve here, this needle valve. That's why you always want to have a little screwdriver handy, because you can get in there, maybe adjust that valve if sometimes it's a pain, and I'll just hook it back up, disconnect it again, and to get that valve to seat right, and you just listen, put it right up next to your ear. This valve here, there's other folks that push this in, while you're refilling. You can try that, because that'll allow the gas to escape while you're putting liquid into the tank. I don't do it that way. I use the freezer method to make this cold. Sometimes I'll bring this in if it's like it's winter time right now, to warm this up, and then it will you'll get you'll get a really good refill off of it. I've refilled these a dozen times over the years. I have 4 that I rotate, but I don't recommend pushing this in unless you want a bunch of propane gas all over the place, stink up everything. But some people do it that way. So once you're good to go, it's not leaking, then put your cap back on, and that's that. Tighten that down, and okay, bam. So that's that. Okay, so y'all take care and have fun, and stay safe and healthy. Thank you. And oops, just for completion. Okay, so of course, take that off. Put your cap back on. Keep crud from getting in there. Okay, so I forgot that part, but don't you forget. Okay, later.